In this video, I'm going to show you 3 of my favorite lower back exercises. The cat-camel exercise is a great way to really mobilize and warm up our lower back and pelvis before doing any strengthening exercises. So to start with, we're on all fours. We drop our head down and our back goes up. And then we drop our back down and our head goes up. And we're going to go through those movements nice and slowly. We're going to go about 3 or 4 seconds down, about 3 or 4 seconds up. And we want to do that about 5 or 6 times each. We're not forcing any of these. This is not a stretch. It is a mobilization. So it's a very gradual, very smooth, very comfortable movement. And we're just going within our normal range of motion. Again, about 3 or 4 seconds down, about 3 or 4 seconds up. And we're aiming for about 5 to 6 repetitions of that. The next exercise we are going to do is called cross crawl or bird dog. To start with, again, we are on all fours. We're going to do opposite arm and opposite hand. So I'm going to take my left leg out. It's going to go relatively horizontal. I'm not bringing it really high up past neutral. I'm also not keeping it really low down. I want it relatively horizontal. And then my opposite arm, my right arm, goes out like this. I'm actively pushing my heel backwards and I'm pushing my fist forward. As I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep this area, my lower back area, pelvic area, nice and balanced, nice and level. Try to visualize a bowl of soup on this area. We don't want that bowl to spill. So I'm going to hold this position here about 5 or 6 seconds. Then I'm going to swing down nice and slowly. My fist or my elbow touches my knee. My knee does not come down onto the ground. It keeps moving, it comes down, and then I go up again on the same side again. I'm going to hold this about 5 or 6 seconds. I'm going to come down again. I'm going to go up again. I'm going to do it about 5 repetitions per side. Then I'm switching sides. So now I'm going to switch sides. Again, I get stable through here. I find a nice neutral spine. So again, I want to keep this nice and level, nice and flat. And then I'm going to do the opposite sides. The next exercise we are focusing on is the side plank. Again, this is a fantastic exercise to really help stabilize and strengthen some of those side muscles, some of those QL muscles. This is probably my favorite lower back core stabilization exercise. So to do this, we go on our side. The version of this, which I like, has my arm bent roughly 90 with my elbow under my shoulder. When you position yourself in this position, it takes some of the stress off the shoulders because a lot of people, they have shoulder issues. You go like this. I'm going to put my knees so that they're bent at roughly 90. This is the intermediate version of the side plank done on the knees. So my knees are bent roughly 90. My elbows bent roughly 90. When I come up into position, ideally I want myself as straight as possible from my knees into my hips, into my shoulder. I really don't want to have this bend here, which I have now. So when I come up, I'm going to come up and then I'm going to pivot slightly forward at my hips to make this nice and straight. So it looks something like this. I'm going to come up, then I'm going to move slightly forward like this just to try to get myself as straight as possible from my knees into my hips, into my shoulder. And I'm going to hold this position. So ideally I'm trying to make this as straight as possible through here. You'll probably feel some contraction on the QL muscles, these underside, side, lateral muscles. That's perfectly normal. You might shake a bit. Again, that's perfectly normal. I just want to keep this nice and straight. I feel very little pressure on my shoulder in this position, which is great. And I hold this. So you can hold this for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15, 20, 30, 40, whatever you are comfortable doing. So I'm going to hold this position. Once I've reached that point, I'm going to drop down. When I come down, I don't completely collapse through here. I stay relatively upright on my shoulder. I'm going to rest about 5 to 10 seconds, and I'm going to come up again. So again, when I come up, and then I go slightly forward. Again, I just want to try to make myself as straight as possible through here, and I'm going to hold it for whatever I'm comfortable. It is more important to do proper form and do less time than sacrifice form. If you want a more challenging side plank, you can go on your feet. So I've got my feet. My top leg goes in front of my bottom leg just to help stabilize, balance myself. And I'm going to come up again. Again, I want to try to make myself as straight as possible through this, except this time my knees are not touching down. So I'm going to come up like this, and I'm holding this position again. My elbow is still bent roughly 90. It still takes pressure off here. But this time I'm just holding this. I'm trying not to go really far forward this way. I'm trying not to go really far back. I want to stay roughly 90, relatively neutral through here. And you'll definitely feel it through here for sure. And again, hold this for whatever you're comfortable doing. If it's painful, stop. Ideally, we want to do 2 to 3 repetitions of those, holding it for as long as you are comfortable. The next exercise we're doing is the glute bridge. For this exercise, we're going to go on our back and roll over. We're going to keep our knees bent roughly 90 here. That takes some of the stress off our lower back. Knees are bent roughly 90, and I'm going to lie down like this. Our goal here is to work on stabilizing and strengthening your lumbar spine, but really also to activate the glutes, which are really critical for proper lumbar and pelvic stability. So to start with, legs are bent 90, I'm flat here. I'm gonna raise myself up nice and slowly. I start by contracting my core, my abs just slightly, and then I'm gonna raise up. So I'm gonna come up like this. I want to be relatively straight from my knees into my hips, into my shoulder. I'm contracting my glutes this entire time. That's the key for this exercise. I'm going to hold this position here about 10 seconds. Then I'm going to relax my glutes. I'm going to keep some of that core activation happening at the same time. So I'm just going to lower down nice and slowly. I'm going to rest here for about 5 seconds or so. When I'm ready to actually go up again, I'm going to gently contract my core just to protect, stabilize that area, and I'm going to come up again. And again, I'm squeezing my glutes. I am maintaining some core activation, and I want to be straight again from my knees into my hips, into my shoulders relatively. Again, I'm holding this about 10 seconds, then I'm going to lower down. I would repeat that 10 times. So we want to aim for 10 repetitions, holding it 10 times each time. Again, none of this should be painful. The keys with this is we want to maintain some core activation, but at the top, it's really squeezing our glutes. If there's any questions you have about any of these exercises, please feel free to ask in the comments section. If there's anybody you think would benefit from these exercises, please feel free to share this video with them. Have a great day.